You are a toaster. We objectify our victims. Aware narcissists such as myself and greater narcissists know that we do this. We dehumanize you. Unaware narcissists, lesser and mid-range, also objectify and dehumanize their victims, but do not realize that they are doing this, but they must be doing it since they are narcissists. We objectify because that makes it easier for us to control you. It makes it easier for us to achieve the prime aims, which includes that control, the obtaining of fuel, which is our lifeblood, the character traits, and the residual benefits. To us, you are a toaster, or a washing machine, or a television set, or a refrigerator. Your role is to perform a function for the narcissist, and to perform that function automatically. As we press the power switch on a television and it bursts into life, you are similarly expected to attend to what we require. That doesn't mean just in terms of making us something to eat or keeping our house clean. Those are just two elements of the residual benefits, but you are meant to burst into life, submit to our control of you, provide the fuel, grant the character traits, and provide the prime aims. You are to function like a household appliance, like some machinery. We press the button, it works. The washing machine doesn't decide, no, I'm not going to wash the clothing today, I fancy a day off. The buttons are pressed, the liquid is added, the settings are determined, and away it goes. It functions, it performs, it delivers. You belong to us, just like the toaster that is purchased from the superstore, from the electrical outlet, ordered online. You similarly belong to us. This is part of your objectification. You become our possession. I, as an aware narcissistic psychopath, like to collect people in the way that I might collect certain objects. Unaware narcissists similarly see you as a possession, although don't recognize it in their conscious mind. You belong to us, which means that ownership lasts forever, until such time as we shuffle off this mortal coil. You are our plaything, our appliance, our object, that we have total ownership over, and that this is all part of the narcissistic perspective by which we view you. You are expected to do as we require. For the aware narcissist, this is a conscious expectation that you should function as we precisely require. For the unaware narcissist, that expectation remains, although they do not realize that it is there. You are not expected to malfunction. Just like the toaster, you are expected to operate and function each and every time we come to rely upon you. A malfunction is not allowed. You are used when we want to use you. Because we own you, because you are our appliance, we decide that if we want to utilize you, consciously for the prime aims or unconsciously for the prime aims, then we are entitled to do so, and we will. You must be ready, willing, able, functioning. You are not to place demands upon us. The toaster does not sit on the kitchen counter and say, "Please feed me some bread, I want to toast today." It sits there, silent, waiting, compliant, unobtrusive, ready, And when we decide to place 2 slices or 4 slices of bread and pull down the lever and adjust the setting, then that toaster delivers that toast for us, toasted to perfection, golden brown, piping hot, not burnt, not underdone so we receive warm bread back by mistake, but the toast just how we want it, crispy, delicious. You are expected to function in a similar way. You are expected to provide us with what we require, not too much, not too little, just as we require it, and of course, you are expected much of the time to second-guess that, to somehow be telepathic to our needs. But that is the fate of the empath ensnared by the narcissist. The toaster knows what to do, and the toaster obliges us. You are expected to behave the same way. The toaster doesn't try and jump off the counter and say, "Spend time with me. Use me to toast all day long." Similarly, you are not expected to place demands upon us by telling us what you need and what we ought to do. You are not to demand that we spend time with you, to take you off the shelf if you are that particular type of appliance in the shelf dynamic with us. You are not there to make demands upon our valuable time, because such demands, requests, whatever it might be framed as, amount to a threat to our control, and control is part of the prime aims. We, of course, can have several toasters, and we may choose a different toaster to use each day, starting with the red toaster, moving on to the light blue toaster, then the mint green one, the gold one, the silver one, the purple one, the lilac, whichever we choose, because of our sense of entitlement and the constitution of our fuel matrix, we may have many toasters in it, and if we so choose to use a different one each day, then we are allowed to do that. And none of those toasters should object to such an arrangement. Sometimes they don't know about the existence of the other toasters, but even if they do, that is not an excuse. The toaster in our kitchen doesn't sit there and think, "Well, I'm not going to toast because he used the Alessi rather than me as the Smeg today." The Smeg waits and performs, as you are expected to do. Sometimes we have a preferred toaster, so that the other toasters don't get to work, or they aren't working, or we don't see them as good. We don't see them as effective, so they are left to one side, left on the shelf that is the kitchen counter, while we utilise the preferred toaster, because it somehow toasts our bread in a superior way to any other toasters that exist. Similarly, if we prefer to utilise a particular appliance that is in our fuel matrix again and again and again, to the detriment and absence of the others, so be it. That is our entitlement. Unfortunately, some toasters break down. Of course, that is their fault, and isn't as a consequence of a lack of maintenance on our part, or overuse, placing too great a demand on it with regard to its toasting facility. The washing machine that breaks down is just because it's not fit for purpose. The television set that has gone on the blink wasn't a very good model, and it wasn't our poor choice to begin with, but rather someone has sold us a dud. They have tried to get one over on us. And therefore any faulty appliance gets thrown on the scrap heap. Because, from our perspective, it is no longer functional and of use to us, and we will turn to a different toaster instead. Of course, we may revisit the scrap heap and suddenly find that that toaster is functioning well again, and we take it back to our kitchen and place it on the counter and utilise it for our toasting needs once again. You are dealt with in the same way. Should you no longer prove effective, should you break down, should you not submit to our control in the way that you ordinarily should do, and we recognise this, then you risk disengagement and to be placed upon the narcissist scrap heap, where, painted black, you are regarded as a bad toaster, a rubbish washing machine, a completely useless television set. Of course, that perspective alters as a consequence of our black and white thinking, meaning that at a later juncture the other toaster has then begun to fade in and out, become somewhat flaky with regard to its reliability for providing us with that delicious golden brown toast, and therefore that appliance gets thrown onto a different scrap heap, and we take you from the existing scrap heap and realise that actually you function perfectly well and adequately, and thus you begin to be used once again, until, of course, the next time you fault and break down. You are a toaster to us, an inanimate appliance that is there to cater for our needs. You are dehumanized in that regard, and it is important for you to understand that this is the way the narcissist truly regards you. Of course, you will not like to be regarded in that way, and no one expects you to like that. It's just the way that it is. Deal with it. But now that you know, this should also go some way as an application of logic to helping you understand that's truly how the narcissist regards you, and therefore this should bolster your desire to implement your no-contact regime to ensure that this particular toaster is now out of stock. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.